The 10 March protest is usually 10 March is usually a historic date for Tibetan people. After the invasion of Tibet by Communist Chinese government in 1949 and the subsequent forced signed-upon agreement enforced on Tibetan and but the Chinese government continued to suppress and repress the Tibetan, and there was a huge mass uprising against the Chinese government in 1959 in 10 March, which led to the eventual escape of His Holiness to the India, and which was followed by 85,000 Tibetans to the India. So this 10 March uprising is usually taking place every year. But this year, due to the Chinese repressive policies and their anti-Tibetan policies has forced the Tibetan to spread this protest. The 10 March protest was initially studied by the Dribung monastery monks when on the evening of the 10 March, like hundreds of the Dribung monastery monks moved from their monastery march towards the Lhasa Bagor for a protest. But the Chinese Public Security Bureau officials and people armed police obstructed them from marching towards Lhasa, and also in the Bagor areas there were many police Chinese security officials who was trying to garden and check the people from protesting. So during that time, around like 50 to 60 monks of the Dribung monastery were arrested during that time. And similarly, on the same days, a group of 50 monks from the Sera monastery also protested against the Chinese government in our area. And those 15 monks were the visiting scholars from the Kham and Andu region in the Sera monastery, and the 15 monks were arrested and detained in the police station. And on the 11th of the March, the monks of the Sera monastery, they marched towards the police station and called for the release of those 15 monks. But instead of releasing those 15 monks, the Chinese government used force against those monks who came to the police station, and there was a scuffle between the police and police official and the monk and the lay Tibetan protester. Similarly, on the 10 March also there was a protest was reported also in the Luzang monastery and the Mangla county. And also in the Gandhi and other parts of the area in the Tibet Autonomous region. So I have some pictures. This is the first pictures of the 10 March, where the monks of the Dribung monastery are marching towards the Lhasa for a peaceful protest. And from the picture, you will find out that they have not any weapons and arms in their hand. They have only like prayer beads in their hand, and they are peacefully protesting against the Chinese continued repression in the Tibet. And this picture shows that there was a huge development of Chinese police to check those peaceful protesters marching towards the Lhasa. So the protest was due to the Chinese repression against the peaceful protesters. The protest was continued from day by day, and there was also protest in the 12 March in the Gandhi monastery, as well as there was a protest in the Tibet University in Lhasa, where the 15 students of the Tibet University are arrested by the Public Security Bureau official on 13 March. And after the arrest, there was a restriction on the movement of the students were imposed, and the main gate, entrance gate of the Tibetan University was also closed. So then comes the 14th March. 14th March, hundreds of the monks from the Ramochi temples marched towards the Lhasa to protest against the Chinese repressive policy, and subsequently a large number of people, armed police, surrounded the Ramochi temples, and all the road leading towards the Ramochi temple were curtained off, and the lay people who are visiting to the temple for a prayer were not let in. And due to that reason, a scuffle was broke out between the monks and the PSP official, as well as with the lay people protester. Eventually, the protests broke out into like some sort of a riot. There was a burning of some vehicles, as well as there was a burning of some shop and some like a government office building. But all this happened due to the frustration of the Tibetan protesters, because they were merely protesting in the Tibet peacefully, but the Chinese use a brute force against those peaceful protesters, and out of frustration, a lot of lay people as well as the monks came out in the street, and then violence erupted in Lhasa, and many of the I hope most of you have saw the news that which was being broadcast by the Chinese CCTV, where the many houses were burned, and some Tibetans were hitting the Han Chinese. But these are some sort of minor incident happened, but China keep on showing this thing as a propaganda. But the issue we have to think of this, usually whenever there is some protest in Tibet, immediately like even one person calling for independence, shouting in the Lhasa street and calling for independence for Tibet, or calling for the return of His Holiness Dalai Lama, within a minute he will be arrested and put into the jail. But at that time, the unrest was reported for several hours, and now Chinese armies were reported, and so it was like why the Chinese doesn't use, when the unrest was in an initial stage, why the Chinese doesn't prevent those unrest. And there's also a report that some Chinese police in the dress of the Tibetan, and in some cases leading the protests during the 14th March. And a Chinese student from the Thailand has reported in Kathmandu to one NGOs that in 14th March, when she went to the police station to see her one friend in the police station, and she saw that one man with a Tibetan dress in a knife in a hand was roaming in the police station, and suddenly she saw that she is putting off the dress of the Tibetan dress and putting on the Chinese police uniform. But at that time she didn't take the things seriously. But later, when she reached the Kathmandu and saw the BBC news, she was shocked to find that. It was make some conspiracy by the Chinese to prove that Tibetan are like a violent protester, and to paint to the outside world that Tibetans are violent, and they are not a peaceful protester, and they are splitting the country and harming the people inside Tibet. Subsequently, the protest was spread in all parts of the Tibet, in the traditional province of Tibet, Kham and Amdo. And in 16 March, in a Kirti monastery, after the regular prayer sessions, the monks of the Kirti monastery was spontaneously protested against the Chinese governments by raising the Tibetan national flag and calling for the Tibet independence and the return of His Holiness Dalai Lama to the Tibet.